we wanted to do a financial report for the church. We haven't done one for 4 or 5 years. I'd like to blame lockdown, but a couple of years before lockdown, we kind of dropped the ball a little bit as well. One of the things that's really important to us is being transparent and being honest and sharing with the whole church what we do with the money that people give. Okay, so we're going to go through that today. We're going to have let's have a look at the agenda. We're going to have a quick look at who the trustees are. Okay, just so you know who the people are who are looking after the money and making the decisions about what we do with the money. We're going to have a quick review of the finances for 2020 and 2021. We're then going to review what we've done, what's gone on with our money in 2022. Obviously, the year hasn't finished yet, so it will be January to August. We're going to look at our investments, and then I'm going to give a brief summary. Okay. Now, I would encourage Mark, Tim, Joel, who's our treasurer. Guys, if I miss something or don't say something, I'd like you to just interject. Okay, so if you could do that, that would not upset me. That would be helpful. Okay. So for you guys at home, I know there's a few at home. Some of our trustees will be watching this on record later. So it's good to have you all on board. Hannah, are we all good with the slides for the people at home as well? Okay, fantastic. Right, so let's have a look at our trustees. Oh, wow, look at these guys. Okay, so Joel in the middle there, front and centre, is our treasurer. So that's great. And we've got Aaron, I was going to say Aaron Laverty, but Aaron Phillips. Samantha, where is she? Hey. Pete, Pete and Aaron are now both external from the church. We've got trustees who aren't part of the church, they're part of other churches. We think that that's a really positive thing because they give us a little bit of an outside view to what we're looking at. Sometimes you can't see the wood for the trees, and someone who's just a little bit external can help. We've also got myself, the newest trustee, and we've got Hannah, who's not here today. I think she's not feeling too well. I don't know, Hannah, if you're at home. Hannah has been chair of the trust for quite a while now. I think maybe 4 years, 5 years, 4 or 5 years. And Hannah is actually going to has asked to step down from being the chair of the trust.
Mike's this side, that, and keep leaning that way.
Oh, sorry. Okay, thank you. So Hannah is going to be stepping down from being chair of the trust, and I'm going to be the new chair of the trust, which is a slightly scary thought. But what we want to say is we really want to say thank you to Hannah for all that she's done over the last 5 years. It's not a small task being chair of the trust. You're essentially personally responsible for the charity and legally responsible, and it is a real weight to carry. And we would really like to say thank you to Hannah for the way that she did that. I think personally from the elders, spiritual leadership team, we want to say a big thank you. Hannah has always been a real support to what we've been attempting to do, and yeah, we would just really appreciate that. And so, Hannah, we have actually got something for you, which we wanted to present to you, but you're not here. So, Sam's actually got something there, so I don't know if she's going to drop it off to you, but we've brought you some nice things there to say thank you. So thanks very much. We give her a round of applause, even though she's not here. I'm sure she's hearing that online, so that's great. Okay, now I've used people's pictures from Facebook and LinkedIn And as you can see, I've actually got quite a nice head of hair in that one. So I worked out it was from about 15 years ago. Okay. We're now going to move on and have a little bit of a financial review of how things were looking in 2020 and 2021. Okay? Oh, too quick. There we go. Okay, so I was going to suggest if you're sitting right near the back and you'd like to come forward, there's going to be quite a few more slides like this that might be difficult to read from the back. So if you can't read it from there, then feel free to move into a slightly better position. Yeah, and we'll publish this for people to look at. Okay, the highlights are end of 2019, start of the year 2020. We had 59,000, nearly 60,000 pounds as total assets. And 2020, obviously, we went into lockdown. And guess what? We didn't spend so much money because you couldn't. And actually, people had extra money. And what we found is people were generous and they gave more money. And so we were spending less and people gave more. And we ended up at the end of the year with £82,000 in all of our assets and bank accounts and in our investment fund as well. 2021, we did all right. We kind of came out at the end of 2021 with £83,000, so we kind of broke even, just a little bit of profit, which is good. Now, I just want to maybe share, some people might be looking at this going, oh, wow, that's a lot of money to just have sitting in bank accounts. Well, we've never had our own building, and we really felt for years like maybe the Lord was going to give us our own building, or we were going to save towards something, and we really felt that we should look after our money and build our money for what the Lord was doing in the future, but He had not yet revealed to us, and so we have an attitude that says, look, we don't just want to sit on our money, we want to invest it. The parable of the talents, remember that one? Like we don't want to get our money and just bury it in the ground. So we have actually sought to invest our money in an investment fund. So we've taken some of it out and we've invested that, and that's actually done since 2015. That's done quite well, and we'll look at that later. But as you can see, we've got a good amount of money just sitting there, and we're going to talk a little bit about how we spend our money and things like that. Now, 2020, 2021, you might say, all right, tick in the box there. We've had some good years and we've been building well. As you can see there, the blue column is what we've been spending each year, and the orange column is obviously what we've received. Okay, that's our income, so that's from people's giving. And as you can see, we spent less than we've had come in, which is positive. So we've built up some additional funds which give us a little bit of security, and we'll see in a little while why that's quite important. We're now going to look at 2022 financial year. It's very important just to remember that all the stats that you see for this year are from January to August. Okay? It's not the full year, so we are expecting to spend more in this year and hopefully get more in. Now, it's a little bit of a different picture to what we've been seeing so far. So I'm just going to show you that comparison. Again, the blue is the amount of money that we've spent, and the orange is the amount of money we received in. And as you can see, already this year, by August, we've spent £73,000, and we've only received in 61,000, which means that we're operating at a loss of £12,000 this year. Okay, now we're not going into debt because, as you saw before, we've got all those savings which are sitting there, which is really good. But it's a little bit alarming, isn't it, to think, well, we're kind of not going in the right direction this year so far. And so we're going to just delve into that and have a little look at why and understand that a little bit clearer. So we're going to move on. Now this one you might want to come forward and just have a little nose. This one really is just showing month on month, what do things look like? Has it been one big thing that's knocked us down, or has it been just accumulation of generally spending more than we're getting in? So each column represents a month. So you can see in January our income was 5,900. We spent 7,800. So we're operating at a loss of nearly £2,000 in January. February, we got nearly £6,000 in and we spent 6.5. March, we got nearly £6,000 in and we spent 8.5. So that's a loss of 2,500. April, we did well. We got nearly 6,800 in, and we only spent around 6,000. So again, we're having some good months. May, 8,500 we got in, and we spent 10,300. So again, we lost £1,600, £1,700 there. June, we only got 5,400 in, but we spent 10,000. So there's certainly a loss of 4,000, nearly 4,800. July, we did well. We got 9,500 in and we spent 9,400. So we made a little bit of money there. And in August, we continued to get a little bit more money in, 8,500, but we spent nearly 11,000. So what you can see there is that over the year, we're it's not a disaster, but we're kind of tracking in the wrong direction, if that makes sense. Now, because we've got a nice surplus that we've built up over the last 10 years, we're not in trouble. We're okay as a church, and that's, we've got a team of trustees who are monitoring this sort of stuff and making sure that we're on top of it. But what does it mean? So maybe we should spend a little bit of time looking at, all right, well, what do we spend our money on then, Pat? So that's what we're going to go on to next. So this is going to be a very quick overview. So we spend 52% of our money on salaries. We spend 10% of our money on rent and hall hire. We spend nearly 8.5% of our money on support for missionaries, and the same again for personal social need. I'm going to go through and explain these nearly line by line. Administration, IT, technology, kids, youth work, outreach, hospitality, MLG, training, MLG conference, which is separate, gifts for speakers, and child protection. Okay, so you can see that the type of things that we're spending our money on are all quite valid. Now, we're going to break those down a little bit. So we're going to talk about salaries. Now, that is quite high up on there. We've taken as trustees, we've taken some decisions this year to change the way that we pay people. So now Tim was talking earlier about us being a very small church with a few people, and really we had some part-timers, and we would pay them as contractors, essentially. Now, we felt that now we're growing into a much bigger church, and we've got Tim, who's nearly full-time, that we should be paying people as employees, and that we should kind of be paying them what they're worth, which I think is, well, I say what they're worth, paying them something that's fair. We'd love to pay them what they're worth, but we kind of, if we paid them if we paid Tim what he's worth, we'd probably be bankrupt in about 4 months. So so we've made some decisions in that area. Now, what's guiding our decisions? Elijah, you're sitting in front of the camera. Can you move to the left, please? Thank you. Okay, so I'd like to share this Bible verse. Elders who do their work should be respected and paid well, especially those who work hard at both preaching and teaching. For the scriptures say, you must not muzzle an ox to keep it from eating as it treads out the grain. And in another place, those who work deserve their pay. And so when we read our Bibles, we understand that the people who work for the church, we should honour them and we should pay them enough to live their lives at least. Okay, amen? And we really felt that what we were paying Tim wasn't really enough. And now if you know Tim, he would probably work for free. And when we said we'd like to give him more money and we looked at things, he was like, no, I don't want to make us go into any negative amounts of money and stuff like that. But we just felt this is the right thing to do, to actually pay him a bit more. So we've taken the step to do that as trustees. We felt that was the right thing to do. That's the same verse, but KJV. Right, so let's have a look. Who is a paid worker of the church? So we've got Tim, the pastor. He's going to love that picture there. That's from his Facebook profile. We've got Alice and Marlene, who are our community workers, and we've got Hannah, who's our ministry associate. So that's fantastic. And really, what we've got to understand is, they're giving up their lives to serve the Lord. The least we can do is make sure they got food on their table, as a minimum. And actually, our heart is that we would love to pay these guys more. And I'm sure you're with me in saying that. I would love to pay them more, more than this kind of what we're paying them. So I wanted to show you a little bit here. How have we decided how much money they should have? For Alice and Marlene, we are paying them the London living wage. Okay, so you can look that up. And actually, I think you guys are due a pay rise. It's just the London living wage has just gone up a little bit. So we will track and follow that for those guys. And for Tim, we are paying him the mean average salary for full-time workers in the UK. Okay, if you put that into Google, it will come up and tell you what it is. We're only paying Tim 4 days a week. Okay, now he's probably working 6 days a week, but we're only paying him for 4. We were paying him for 3 before, so we've upped that to 4 days a week. As our finances improve, we would look to maybe move that to 5 days a week. Now, he is getting some money from the MLG network, but it's peanuts. That's really, we just wanted to show you what that looks like. Obviously, that 38,000 is all of their money combined up to August. Okay. Now, what I want you to consider and think about is, these guys are fantastic, and we love these guys, and they're doing an amazing job in our church. And maybe there's ways that we can support them, and think about how we can honour them. Okay. I think one thing we can do is just give them a big round of applause, and really just say thank you for all their hard work and their commitment. They're not 9-to-5ers. They're not just turning up for a paycheck and going home. This is something that they're pouring their heart and soul into, and we appreciate that, and we thank them for their efforts. But as you can imagine, going from contractors to employees is costing the church a little bit more, because you've got to pay the PAYE employers tax on top of that, and pensions and all this sort of stuff, which we want to do, but it costs more. And obviously moving Tim from 3 days a week to 4 days a week, that's cost us a little bit as well. So in understanding why some of our money gone up this year in 2022, this is one of the factors for sure. But we feel that it's more important to be righteous than it is to just keep all our savings intact. So we'll continue to operate like this, and we might get to a point where maybe the church there isn't any more money, and we have to look at what we do. If we carry on in the same pattern in a year's time, I think there might be less people on the slide, or the people on the slide will be doing less hours, because that will be all we can afford. But at the moment, we feel it's righteous to continue where this is, and in faith we believe that the Lord will provide more. Amen? Okay. Rent and hall hire, that takes up 10% of our money. Now we moved from the link and we've now moved up to midfield, which is great. Okay, now some of the reasons we did that is because we just really hit our maximum capacity at the link, didn't we? And actually there were some rules in there that said you're only insured up to 100 people, you're not really allowed more. And now we did spend a few months kind of not counting people because that was easier than facing up to things. But the reality was we needed to move to somewhere that could accommodate what God is doing. And isn't it wonderful to be in here? Some weeks we've really filled this place as well. But that cost double what it cost before. So we could fit 100 people. Now we can probably fit 200, but it cost double. Okay, so that's another factor why we're spending a little bit more money now than we were before. Support of missionaries. Again, I've just gone and looked at people's cheesy Facebook photos and just put them on there. So support of missionaries, that's over £6,000 we've spent supporting people who are overseas, okay, in other countries who are giving their lives to share the gospel with people in different countries. A lot of these people are not getting a salary or anything like that. They're just relying on people like us to be generous. Okay? So I've listed our missionaries there. So it's Adam and Mim in China, although they're not quite in China at the moment. They're going back soon. They're getting their visas on Monday. Pray that they get them. Okay, that's fantastic. Adam and Bulawa in South Africa. We've got Richard and Demola, and I've put in a former Soviet Union country because this is recorded. The Greece mission trip, that's also in this category, so that's fantastic. We've got Pio in India with Spore Show Ministries. There's a picture of people getting baptised there, and it's great that the money that we give is supporting seeing more people get saved. Amen. Matt and Michelle Barrow down in Worthing, but they go out to Africa and we supported them as well. And we've also supported the Bible school in Zimbabwe at Amiva, which Jim and John have been a big part of over the last, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 years, long time. Okay, so that's something that's close to our heart. Yeah. Now that says 8.4%. Do you know what? I'd love it if that's a 10%. Yeah, amen. Because we want to give. Our heart should be, look, do you know what? What we get in, we want to give it. You know, and so I'd like to see that number grow in future. All right, let's have a look. Personal social need. Personal social need is a fund that we have that says if there's people that need help in our community, we want to give. Okay, and I would also like to see that go up to 10%. And that could be stuff like someone's washing machine breaks and they can't afford it and we help them out. Could be that, you know, someone's fallen on hard times and we paid their rent this week. It might be, it's not to pay for Xboxes for teenagers, no. But we've spent over £6,000 helping people this year. And I'm extremely proud of that. And I think you should be too. We'd love to see that go up to 10% as well. But that's money that's just given away to help people. Okay, and I think that's fantastic. Okay, administration. I sat with Joel last night and I said, Joel, what's administration? You know, that's nearly £4,000. So that's things like the accountancy software to keep on top of all this. Skip hire. Church chairs, the new church chairs we're sitting on, the trolleys that haven't arrived yet that are going to they're going to sit on, the paper cups, church lunches, Christmas events, those sorts of things. They all just wrap up under that administration container. And then IT and technology, which is a new category this year. But we would admit that the people at home who are watching this at home, it's not possible without us investing in cameras and laptops and software and things like that make all that work, like our Zoom subscription. So these are things that are important and really helping the church move forward. They cost money. Kids and youth work, we've wrapped that up. That's the one that surprises me the most, if I'm being honest. I would have thought that we would have spent a lot more money on our kids than £2.5 grand. That pays for youth activities, that pays for Sunday school materials and trips and all that sort of stuff. So that kind of, that encompasses the youth group, and it also encompasses things like all the Sunday school groups, Catalyst and all that sort of stuff. Now, what we do spend is a lot of energy and a lot of hours, and I'd like to give a big round of applause to all the people who invest in our kids. You know, as we were saying, they are the future, which is quite scary when you look at some of them. Okay, so we've also spent £1,300 on outreach and £800 on hospitality. Outreaching activities include toddlers group, quiz nights, and other activities and things like that. Yes, yeah. So a lot of the things that Alice and Marlene do comes under that outreach category. Okay. Ooh. Okay. So that kind of, there are some more categories. That kind of concludes what we spend our money on. And I think you'll agree with me that the trustees and certainly Hannah before have done a great job of making sure that we distribute our money wisely and that we do the right things. And I'm quite proud of what we've done. Can we improve? Yeah, I think we can, but we're quite proud of what we're doing. Okay, this is our income. So this is money coming in. So the blue bar represents money coming in to our bank account by bank transfer. So that might be people who've got monthly direct debit or give a one-off gift. They're all included in that. The grey bit there, which is something I'd like to talk about, is gift aid. Okay, gift aid is actually really important because, as you can see, Joel and myself, we did the Joel did the calculations last night, and on average, every pound we give, at the moment we're getting an extra 16%. So if you give £1, we get an extra 16 pence from the government. So that grey bar there represents the gift aid that we get. Okay, and it's that's split over the months. And then the yellow bit on top there is the cash that we collect on Sundays in the basket. Okay, so you just get a little bit of a split and understanding how we're doing that, how we're collecting that. Okay, so what is gift aid? Okay, now I've pulled this straight off of the government website, but I thought it was worth taking a minute just to understand what gift aid is, and then kind of go from there. So gift aid, donating through gift aid means charities and community amateur sports clubs, which isn't us, we're a charity, can claim an extra 25 pence for every pound you give. It will not cost you anything extra. You need to make, and so what do you need to do? You need to make a gift aid declaration for the charity to claim. You usually do this by filling in a form, contact the charity if you've not got one. Okay, so you can reach out to Joel if you'd like us to be able to get an extra 25p on every pound that you give to the church. Okay, it's really worth doing. Peter? Yes, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so if you're not paying tax, then you can't do gift aid. But also, I do believe that we can get a little bit more gift aid if you're a higher tax earner. Well, oh yes, so you can actually claim back the difference between the two if you're a higher gift aid earner. If you'd like to learn more about that, speak to Joel. Okay. It's just a great way, and when you're looking at our finances and you're going, all right, okay, we're kind of there or thereabouts. For the sake of you filling in a form, we could have an extra 25p on a pound. You know, that might tip us over the edge back into, positive months. So please do consider that. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Given the last 4 years,
We can go back and claim for.
for. So if you've given money to the church before, and you can say, well, if we've got a record of it, or you can say what it is, you can claim up to 4 years back. So if you've given, say, £1,000 over the last 4 years, for example, that's £250 extra the church gets for nothing. So literally you can do that once.
So that's something with a charity commission, but it's really worth considering. Please go and speak to Joel if you think that's something you want to do. If you don't want to do it for some sort of reason, that's fine as well. I'm not going to pressurise you, but it does help us a lot, especially with kind of the way that things have looked over 2022. Right, so we're going to have a little look at our investments overview. Okay. So this is an investment fund that we actually let Pete Cross, who's one of our trustees, whose job it is, who essentially does wealth management for a living. He's fantastic, and we asked him to go away and invest our money in an investment fund in 2015. This is just giving you an idea. So we invested 37,500. We now have 43,355. So that money we've not buried it in the ground. We've put it in an investment, and we've got something back on it, which really puts us in a position where we can pull that. If we need to pull that money out, we can pull that money out reasonably quickly. Can we get it by tomorrow? No, it'll probably take a little bit longer than that. We could probably pull it out in about a week or two. But that's a gain of 15.6% over all of those years, with a yearly annual return of 3.7%. If you can find me a bank account that give you 3.7%, just let me know. So I wanted to show you this because I think it's important for us to be transparent with the whole church. We're trying to invest your money wisely so that we can use it when the time is right. Okay. Summary. Okay, so summary of our finances. The Lord is good, and He's blessing us, and we've got money in the storehouse. But what I would say is we're in a season where we're using money from the storehouse. Does that make sense? I think we're going to be absolutely fine through 2022. But what I would encourage people is, look, we want to keep our employees, we want to keep those guys who are serving the Lord. We want to make sure that we're paying them well. I'd love to be able to step up here next year and say, do you know what, we've been able to pay our people more, and not just leave them, scrimping around. We've actually been able to pay them more and honour them. And so I suppose the challenge that I would ask you to consider is, I would ask you to pray about whether you would like to give more to the church. Okay, that's just the reality of things. If we don't get a bit more, then we'll just have to reconsider things. I don't want anyone to feel pressure to give more. You must give because you feel it's right before the Lord, not because Pat stood up the front and tried to scare us with some slides. Okay, I'm certainly not doing that. The message I want to give you is that the Lord is faithful, the Lord is good, and our finances have looked very solid. But we're going through a state of growth, and like Tim said, we don't want to see, the tree kind of fall over because there's too much fruit. We need to operate in a sustainable way, where some of our pastoral work is really spread around, and I would love to see us paying more pastors in the future to serve people. We want to move in faith as well. I think that's really important. We don't do, and that's why we've decided to pay our people more, even though the numbers don't quite add up at the moment. Because we believe that the Lord is faithful, and by this time next year, that things might be different. Okay? But we are a community together. I think that's important. You know, it's not somebody else's job. It's up to all of us to look at ourselves and say, what does the Lord want me to do? Okay. And now I'm going to get out the giving forms. No, I'm not really joking. I'm just winding you up. Okay. That's not something. Well, it's not something we're into. We're not into pressurising people, but it's certainly something worth considering, isn't it? Okay. I'm going to leave it there. The only other thing I'd like to say is just just a massive thank you to everyone who does give. Okay. Now, as chair of the trustees, somebody has to look at the chart and see who's giving what. And I just want to say a massive thank you. There are people who are really committed to giving, and the Lord will honour you. I'm not going to honour you from the stage. I'm not going to say who you are, but the Lord sees, and all that you invest in the kingdom will be returned to you, if not here, when you arrive at your final destination. Amen. All right, Tim.
It's worth just pointing out, actually, as well, that